ready?
If you're ready, give me just a sec.
Sounds good.
You're on. Go ahead, please.
All right, we will call the meeting to order. Jen, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Corbin?
Here.
Commissioner Waldner?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Commissioner Thill? Mayor Lindsay?
Here. I want to officially welcome the Leadership Madison participants and that to the City Commission meeting, and also to let you know that you're always welcome. You know, the commission meetings and that are always open to the public, and we like it when people come, even if they don't have anything particularly that they want to add, but just to be here and see, you know, how the commission operates. So with that, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under appearances and acknowledgments, we have Eric Hortness from the Greater Madison Area Chamber of Commerce. So I'll ask you to step forward and give us an update.
Well, thank you for allowing me to take a few minutes. I just want to talk about a few of our upcoming programs and then show you some of the videos that we've been able to have produced over the last few days. Upcoming events, we have our big chamber show and sell coming up on Saturday. It is sold out, 129 booths using the Playhouse and the Fieldhouse. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout of shoppers that day. Before that, on Friday, Good Friday, we'll have a big promotion, shopping promotion that goes Friday and Saturday. And then moving to the next weekend, December 2nd, will be our Madison's Magical Christmas with Day with Santa, a free showing of Elf, sleigh rides, community tree lighting at night at 5:30. And then all day long we're doing a business bingo to try and get some shoppers into our local businesses for that day. And I want to personally thank the commission for increasing their support of the chamber for 2018. As you know, every little bit helps, and I appreciate the extra dollars that you've committed to us for next year, and hopefully we can do even more than what we've done this year. Leading up to that, I have a couple of commercials that we have produced that are running right now. If you have VAST or SDN communications for your cable provider, you may see these commercials running, and this is something that we're going to be doing throughout 2018 also as part of our Southeastern South Dakota grant money that we received. So this is all of our commercials. The first 10 or 15 seconds will have the same video, and then the final 15 to 20 seconds will be event specific. So this first one is commercial for our show and sell.
Madison is home to amazing outdoor activities. A
Jory,
top-rated educational system,
can you grab
including
some
Dakota
chairs
State University,
for Lori?
strong manufacturing center, quality healthcare system, business opportunities, and shopping. Come and join us on November 25th for our 16th annual show and sell event from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at our two locations directly across from each other on the 1200-1300 blocks of North Washington Avenue. Over 100 arts, crafts, and home consultant vendors will be there. Discover the unexpected in Madison.
So that's obviously our show and sell commercial. And the second commercial is basically a Shop Madison commercial.
Amazing outdoor activities, a top-rated educational system, including Dakota State University, strong manufacturing center, quality healthcare system, business opportunities, and shopping. Our unique local businesses make Madison your holiday shopping center. Whether it is large items or small, from specialty boutiques to men's apparel, specialty craft stores to spirit wear, Madison has stores that will help you fill your Christmas list. This holiday season, come discover the unexpected in Madison.
So again, those two commercials are currently running.
Thanks, Jerry.
Now, as most of you maybe have already seen our Madison promo video, but I wanted to play that for you in case you haven't seen it yet. And this was a collaboration between LAIC and the Chamber. We split the costs with it, and Wallman Productions is the one that produced the commercial, or the video.
My husband and I both came to Dakota State University for undergrad and met at the university and have never left. We've been here.
I started looking at my next adventure. My husband was born in Wyoming and grew up in Ames, Iowa, and he was very interested in moving back to this part of the country. I was a little nervous. I didn't know how I'd do on the plane, but I applied for the job at Dakota State University. He asked me the evening of our on-site visit if I was going to take the job, and I said, if they offer it to me, I'm 98% sure I'm going to accept it.
I got a job here teaching. Thought it was going to be a one-year stay, maybe a couple years before I maybe moved back to Iowa. So, we had our third child, Brianna, and well, make a long story short, we haven't left.
Hola, me llamo Ania Guadalupe Salcedo Sandoval. Bienvenidos a Madison, South Dakota. Hello, I am Ania Salcedo, and welcome to Madison, South Dakota. Well, I came from a small town in Mexico. Dad already had a job opportunity in Ramona, but he thought that this was the perfect town to make a family with my mother, so we came here.
I was born and raised in Sioux Falls and arrived in Madison about 2 days old and have not left. And honestly enjoyed every day since. Madison's been a tremendous community to grow up in, to own a business, to go to school first of all, and then own a business, and now raise a son and see the kind of joy that you can have in a small community is literally priceless to me.
I'm Josh Anderson. I'm the head football coach at Dakota State University in Madison, South Dakota, and I'm also a Madison High School alum, graduated in 1994. The progress and the forward thinking of this community from all aspects is just so exciting to be a part of.
I'm originally from Sioux Falls. We live out in the country, which I love. You can have that acreage life and, the big yard, and the kids can, ride their bikes and play and don't have to worry about traffic.
I'm Ashley Crabtree, and I'm one of the optometrists here in Madison, South Dakota. I grew up in a small rural community in Lake Preston, South Dakota.
Yeah, I took a chance. Here we are. Facility here in Madison. Wonderful, great people that are working for us. We do business nationwide.
I was originally from eastern Montana. Spent a few years in the Twin Cities. It was just way too big, too chaotic for me. Wife and I had to get back to the Midwest.
Actually, coming up on my 20th anniversary of the first time I ever came to Madison. I came here for an education. I stayed for a career, and now Madison is home.
I'm very passionate about local health care and the ability for citizens to have access to health care and quality health care in the community. For those services that we provide, we have to provide them in the same manner and the same quality and under the same regulation that large institutions do. And so people can be assured that the quality is going to be here the same as it would be in a metropolitan hospital. So larger is not always going to assure you quality.
We, this last weekend, we just opened for the new semester, and we opened a brand new facility where we're sitting right now, a teaching building, and we've got a brand new residence hall, and we upgraded and expanded the student union. They're all looking really nice and sharp. What kept me here really is, the job is interesting, and I really enjoyed that, but the people of Madison are what makes a difference. I've been in many, many university towns around the country. I have never felt as welcome as I felt here in Madison.
I say it at the end of my emails a lot. It's a great day to be a Bulldog. And it's always a great day to be a Bulldog, but lately it's been a really good time to be a Bulldog. Our activities from our oral and terp to debate to drama to choir and band are very, very good activities. Our programs are wonderful. Core classes to our AP classes, college credit classes. Athletically, it's kind of been off the charts here.
I came here without knowing any English. Not only did I learn English in 2 years, I have been able to speak and read and write English to a level where I was able to take an AP course. Not in many places you have those opportunities.
Town of 7,258 wonderful people, and we've got more amenities than communities much bigger than ours.
We have several parks here and the pool and the community center. A great pool, great community center. Madison offers a great business climate, but the quality of life here is excellent.
Obviously, the hunting and the fishing and the biking and the swimming. I don't get to do as much of it as I'd like to. Love to do some golfing.
Beautiful lakes, and golf courses, and there's hunting, and all that stuff around here.
You've got all kinds of restaurants. You've got a bowling alley. You've got a movie theater.
Safe.
Being safe,
Pretty safe.
It's a very safe community. Everybody knows everybody.
being welcoming,
Thriving,
family-oriented, diverse,
Cozy.
supportive.
Madison, South Dakota is unbelievable.
We just fell in love with the place, absolutely. A great place to be, a great institution, and as we've discovered, a great community.
All those things probably the reason why I'm starting my 32nd year here in Madison.
It's about finding good people and meeting good people, and Madison's is plumb full of good people.
Honestly, this is from the heart. I love Madison, South Dakota. I've lived here for 50 years, and I can't wait to spend the next 50 years in Madison.
If you're looking for a job, Madison's the place to be. I hire 50 people a day, all sorts of skill sets, from painting, welding, assembly, engineering, you name it.
Everybody can have that feeling as well. That Madison can be home.
So again, that video is on the Chamber website, LAIC's website. We put it out on our Facebook page, and it's reached over 25,000 people. We've had a lot of employers that have linked it to their website. So I think all in all, it's probably going to turn out far better than what we even had hoped for. So that video and the two commercials are currently running. Those are just the three things that I wanted to quickly show you. Again, thank you for support that you've given us and the increase in support that you're giving us for 2018. Any comments or questions from any of the commissioners or the mayor?
Nice videos. Thanks for coming down.
You bet.
Attending the LAIC meetings and that, I've seen this before. I've also linked it to my Facebook page, and it hasn't got that many. So it's really, all of those and that, really highlight the Madison community very, very nicely.
Yeah, and the promo video is all unscripted, so those were just, comments that they came up with when the questions were asked of them. So, those are all, we couldn't have scripted it any better than the way it came out. So, thank you. I'll let you get down to business now.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Eric.
you for coming in.
Popcorn next.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, Bernie Szymanski, you wanted to visit on the Planning Commission action on appeal number 581.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, and Mr. Attorney. I'm here in objecting to the variance that was authorized by the Planning Commission last Monday morning. I'm opposed to it because the variance that they allowed, one of the variances they allowed, in my experiences, diminishes the value of my property and the immediate properties in the neighborhood. The word variance is new to me. I'm familiar with the term exception. I ask that this commission set aside that ruling which allowed for a 12-foot variance. It allowed for a net of the 3-foot variance on the front side of the property, and I can't give you the exact dimension on the back side because that figure slipped my mind. In discussing this with the director of building this morning, I said to him as we were visiting that in my experience this diminishes the value of my property. It gives the appearance of Madison as an unsightly and disorderly appearance, which affects people that want to invest in this community. And I'd answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I appreciate you coming, tonight to express your opinions. Madison has standards and, in the building code, and anyone that meets those standards can walk in, get a building permit, and move forward. On here, the initial request was to be 9 foot from the back property line. They visited with the neighbor and agreed on a 12-foot. The building will still be 33 feet back from the curb. It will be a single-family residence, replacing the single-family residence that was there previously. This will be newer than the one that was there previously. And so having reviewed all of the findings of fact from the planning and zoning, and that I am in agreement with their decision. I was not at the meeting, but I have visited with Chad Comas, the city engineer. I have visited with Mr. Corbin, who was at the meeting, and I have read all of the information in that was presented by the neighboring property owner, as well as the Amerts and that who have applied for the variance. This is not an unusual situation in Madison. The property next to me is 7 feet, and that from the property line. There was a time in that, and there still is some areas in town where the side yards and that are only 5 feet. So this isn't out of line, with other properties in Madison. And from everything that I have read and discussed in that, I see no reason in that to change the Planning and Zoning Commission's actions in that and moving forward with this property.
I don't think you have any authority to do so.
There's that too.
There's no legal authority for this commission to change what the planning commission did. That decision stays at that level. It doesn't come here. You're not an appellate body for those decisions. So even if you disagreed with the decision, you don't have the lawful authority to change it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I challenge both of those positions.
Okay.
This changed the variance on the front side. The front property will be 12 feet from the line. The code calls for 15 feet on the front side.
But the house is still 33 feet from the curb. Because the property line is further back than on some other homes. You are correct. It's 12 feet from the property line, not 15. But the property line on this property is also further back than other properties in the town.
I understand that, and I will accept that. But as far as the attorney's comment about not bringing it to this group, if you read ordinance 15555, it says that the city commission is the appeal group. It has nothing in that code that was adapted in 2014 that provides for a building commission. The International Uniform Building Code recommends that elected officers make that decision, and states that in the building code that your predecessors adopted. So you are saying I'm in error and appearing here Mr. Jenks is in error. The ordinance calls for the city commission by statute to be the appeal group. And I thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you. Is there anything anyone would want removed from the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under old business, hearing upon the application for sale of alcoholic beverages and package off-sale malt beverage license for Tienda Hispana. Is there anyone here that wanted to speak to that? Yes, sir. Would you come to the microphone, please?
How are you?
Very good.
You know, I tried to open a new business over here, you know, grocery store, you know, Spanish. And that's what I asked him, you know, for the license, you know, to sell, you know, alcohol. So this is gonna go home. We just sell and they take it home. We don't wanna sell in the store. That's what I'm here, you know, to.
No, very good. And right now in that, this is the hearing portion where yourself and others would get to speak to this. And then the next thing on our agenda is where we make the official approval or disapproval of your application. So right now in that, I'm going to make the assumption in that you want us to move forward with this and approve it.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay. Then we will move on to new business. Approve the application for sale of alcoholic beverages, package, off-sale, malt beverage license for Tienda Hispana.
I'll make a motion we approve application for sale of alcoholic beverages, package for off-sale, for malt beverage license for Tienda Hispana.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
for the leadership people, there's these alcohol licenses, and we have a few other ones actually coming up next. Public Safety Commissioner, I always visit with our police department, make sure, and Jen has a full, she can go into details on the application process, and so we don't just hand these things out, but at the same time, we like it when additional businesses come to town. It's going to generate sales tax and different things for us. So we appreciate you coming in and speaking to it as well. So I just thought I'd better throw that out for the benefit of the crowd here.
And then for those that are not familiar with the location they've chosen, it's the old Napa building. So this will be on Highway 34 and that, and it will be not just alcohol, but a Spanish variety menu grocery store. So this is just part of it.
You guys welcome.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Mr. Cortez will get this sent into the state tomorrow, okay? And we'll be in touch as soon as we hear from them.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Number 2, approve the 2018 alcoholic beverage license application renewals, liquor and wine. And Jen or Mike, do either one of you want to address this?
I'll just double check, make sure all the licenses are in order.
Absolutely. They would not be in front of you if they weren't in order. We dot our I's and cross our T's on these. Everything is in order. They are all renewals, so there was no public hearing necessary, no public hearing. And no changes. So when you approved these last year, there has been no changes from what you approved last year.
And again, for the benefit of everybody here, the crowd, the police chief just stepped in as well. But yeah, we visit with him, and obviously a city commission has the ability to deny these if we have issues with an establishment, whether it be selling to underage or other various activities that are not suitable or that we don't like within this commission. So having heard what Jen said, I'll make a motion that we do approve 2018 alcoholic beverage license application renewals for liquor and wine.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
First reading of ordinance number 1599, vicious or biting dogs. And David, do you want to address this, or would you like me to? Either one.
I sure can kick it off.
All right, very good.
This ordinance is our vicious or biting dog ordinance. There have been virtually no changes with the exception that we've added a subsection G dealing specifically with the treatment of vicious animals. This is not the same thing as a biting or a dangerous animal. Those are different things. But we're dealing in section G only with vicious animals and what happens when the city has to take in or impound a vicious animal. That's all that this ordinance changes and deals with. And what this allows for is for two city officials to agree based on certain factors to not only impound the dog, but ultimately put the dog down.
And then I'll just add to that, when David says vicious, all dogs bite. It's the difference of the bite or the attack that makes G, stand out from just, a dog that snaps or snips. So it is in here, in that, and it is on the website, on the minutes for the agenda tonight. So with that, this is first reading. And first reading, do we need to carry a motion on it? No?
Yes.
Yes, all right. So with this, do we have a motion?
No, first reading.
Kelly did.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Just dove in there.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
Got a question.
You have a
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So if my grandchildren are playing out in the yard, and I'm legally licensed to carry a firearm, and that dog attacks my grandchildren, can I legally shoot it without repercussions?
I'm going to refer to Mr. Jenks on that one. I have an opinion, but I'm going to go with...
There are two issues. There are city and state issues here.
I know.
I'm the city attorney. I'm not the state's attorney. I can tell you that would be a highly fact-dependent situation. If there was some credible evidence that a dog had attacked one of your grandchildren and you elected to shoot that dog, I would not prosecute you.
Well,
Okay?
I'm not going to let that dog get far enough to do that much damage.
Understood. But you have to understand that every situation like this would be highly fact-specific. So what I can tell you, if you are protecting a child from a dog attack, it is unlikely that you would be prosecuted for anything in this city.
Yeah, because right now we have a dog in our neighborhood that you might call vicious because he's taken after me a few times, and I've used a bat on him. Now, it's been taken care of, so I haven't called anybody. I talked to the neighbor and told him what the situation was, and he just kind of poofed it. So that's why I was asking the question about...
I would highly recommend you making a record of these problems, and even if you feel like you dealt with it person to person, if you've been attacked or someone in your household or your grandchildren have been attacked, you should call law enforcement. There should be some record of that, because that may play a role down the road on how you're treated if you take certain actions and how the dog is treated if it has to be impounded by the city. So don't be afraid to call law enforcement just because you feel like you dealt with it with your neighbor.
Yeah, no, but what
immediately, though, if the dog is attacking my grandchildren, all they'll have to do is come and pick the dog up.
I understand.
I mean, there seems to be draft, there's two, I mean, you talked about this a little, I think you and I can't quite remember, but, it seems to me there's two things, the immediate, like you say.
Right.
And I can't say that I would disagree with your response, okay? But as you said, it depends on the facts. If he's chewing on my family.
Well, I agree. There has to be following the criteria.
If even I feel threatened by a dog, you know, or an animal of any kind, I have every responsibility, I think, to go ahead and make some written contact about that with the police or something.
Well,
there's two things in the discussion. Both are valid. I just want to point that out. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You just have to have, you know, a route, or kind of, you have to have, write everything down just in case. And I agree with that.
I would also echo what Mr. Jenks said about just call law enforcement, have them come over, then they have a record of it, and that would certainly help you if it would escalate.
And it helps the city decide how to handle the dog as well, if there's a history. I mean, one of the things that law enforcement looks at is there a history with this dog.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we encourage, I mean, I don't want people calling the police chief's going to be mad at me. Tell everyone to call the police every time they've got an issue, but on something like a threatening dog or a dog attack, you should call law enforcement.
But in the same sense, Chief, wouldn't you rather have no than not no?
Absolutely. I mean, even if the dog doesn't, if the dog is even threatening, at least if we have a documentation of that and it's 4 or 5 times and we can show that nothing's being done, then we can take the appropriate steps that we feel that we need to protect those people in the neighborhood. But without having a running history of these incidents, it kind of handcuffs us a little bit.
Well, I'll start writing it down. You'll have a running history.
Does this ordinance carry so many times that the people's got to be told about their dog? Is that something that we should probably put in there, that if you...
Not in my opinion, Bob.
If we have 4 or 5 complaints, you are...
No, I want to leave that up to law enforcement. Law enforcement are the people on the ground dealing with these people and these dogs, and there are situations where someone deserves no more warnings. There was a terrible attack in town here a month ago, and nobody deserved any more warnings or any more chances. Somebody's arm was literally hanging by a string after an attack. It was really bad. So in that case, I don't want there to be any other chances. If it's a dog that's out barking and sort of staring somebody down, maybe law enforcement needs to give them a second chance. But I want that in the discretion of law enforcement and not prescribed by ordinance. So we have to say, okay, we have to give a 3rd chance or a 4th chance. That's not something I want. But I also don't vote on ordinances.
The reason I brought that up is because of the man and wife that was in here a couple months ago talking about walking home from the Ball Diamond.
Yep.
I was just wondering how many chances are we going to give that guy?
There will be no more chances in that case.
Okay.
But that situation seems to have remedied itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have a commissioner for the fire department?
We do.
Yep.
You? I'd like to acknowledge the fire department for their quick response the other day when my car blew up. I mean, my wife called 911, but I had the fire out by the time they got there. But very impressive for a volunteer fire department. And I'm going to put something in the paper for thank you too. So,
Thank you.
very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
The 4th grade music program calls.
Yes.
But I will be meeting with this group tomorrow in the courthouse.
Very good.
Thanks.
You have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second. And all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 4, declare as surplus property and appoint appraisers for scrap water meters. And Kelly, do you want to speak to this?
I
Brad
will,
isn't here?
actually.
All right, go for it.
Utilities. So the last several years, we've been replacing water meters, and we have a pile of old surplus water meters at the Public Works shop, and we want to clean that up a bit. So for declaring those meters. They do have a percentage of brass in them, so they do have some value, but need to declare them surplus so we can get rid of them. With that, I'll declare surplus property and appoint appraisers Jeremiah Corbin, Jan Tiemann, and Chad Comas for the scrap water meters.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 5, approve a peddler's license application for DNR cleaners. And Mike or Jim, do either one of you want to address this one?
Well,
I'll
you
start.
can tell me about the application.
Okay, I will start. You have the application in front of you. Mr. Schneiderler, is he here? I don't think that he is. Simply wants a 1-day license to go door to door. We did evaluate this, decided that he probably should have a peddler's license. While he's not selling a tangible good, he is simply selling his cleaning business. He wants to clean your home and wants to go door to door to sell that business. He's only asking for 1 day, as noted on the application, which is tomorrow. He knows to check in with us first thing tomorrow morning. He would be licensed for 1 day, November 21st.
And he does have a local area address.
He does.
All right. Questions, comments, motion?
A lot of the stuff tonight's falling in my area, and again, for the benefit of the audience, traditionally I'm not for peddlers coming through Madison. Just it causes a lot of time and work for my law enforcement. Our officers are a lot of times trailing behind them, a lot of phone calls, people won't leave. Resident says, no, I don't want your service, I don't want your product, they don't leave. Our patrolmen have to go and get pulled off of other things to go and deal with it. So typically I am not for peddler licenses. I'm glad that we have them for this obvious reason. It tells our law enforcement, hey, this person is looking at just 1 day, but a lot of times it may be 2 weeks that people may be canvassing our community. And so I struggle with it. I don't know this individual. I wish he was here tonight to further explain what he's looking at doing. And so
He does have a sales tax license. He did provide us with a driver's license, which are the 2 forms that we do ask for.
Sorry for putting the water meters on your agenda this evening.
Yeah.
You could have had a pew.
I could have had the whole thing. Thanks a lot.
With that, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve peddler's license application for DNR cleaners.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no one else?
Mayor,
Yes.
and I'll just throw out, it's always buyer beware. Obviously, anytime somebody comes to your house, always buyer beware. And again, obviously, if you have struggles with people not leaving, you know the number to call. So.
Mike, did you talk to him about the fact that we have some obligations to this? Did you?
No.
Did you mention that?
He has now.
We have at times in the past denied these, but was it a state statute that
It's actually
we were essentially had a double bind.
Yeah.
Where we had to, we basically had to prove it unless we had substantial.
The Commerce Clause in the Constitution.
Yeah,
We
it's actually a
cannot
federal-
deny without
federal
just
law.
cause.
So there's more to it than, there have been times when we have looked at these and said no, but we had to reverse that decision. The same reasons that were mentioned here, so.
At least this process makes the general public and the group aware of the fact that they have made this request.
That's nice.
Okay, now I'm just going to open it up for a little bit. Anyone here from the Leadership Madison have any questions of the commission? Yes.
What happens if there's a nay when you guys are voting on things?
Well, it depends on how many ayes and how many nays.
The ayes always
Okay,
carry,
if there's 3 nays and 2 ayes, it fails. If there's 3 ayes and 2 nays, it fails. Do we have a nay once in a while? The answer is yes. And, and it's all based on, the commissioners, opinions of, whatever that item is. But yes, we do have some nays. We've had some nays in the past. On my left, I know in both cases. My right, I'm trying to think. I think on the right, there's been a nay or two also. So, it does happen. It does happen, yes.
I almost voted nay on the earlier one, just so you could also see that process. But, I don't know if this is a gentleman, he's out trying to build a business or something, good for him if he's out there, trying to work hard and stuff. I, don't know for sure, but almost said nay just to.
That current peddler's license it kind of leaves you with something less than desirable feeling, snake oil, what's the deal? That alone, it's just bad discretion. But there are, Mike said, I think there are people who are just trying to build a business to make things work. So we have a good process, and a responsibility to protect the public too. So.
And then to add to that, the information that we receive here for the things that are on the agenda, it's something that we've given a lot of background for, in some of these cases, for quite a long time before it gets to the meeting. So it's, we've had our opportunities to research, what's on the agenda. We've gotten the ability to get questions answered before we get to this point. So even though sometimes our meetings are very short, we've had this information for quite a long time. So, other questions or comments? Go ahead, Mike.
Can you just explain the process to get something onto your agenda? How does that
Call
work?
Jen.
Call Jen.
Our agenda.
Quite honestly, I'll let you explain it.
Our agenda has to be published a minimum of 24 hours before any meeting, and that's not just for the commission. It's for our planning and zoning, it's for our airport board meetings, it's for our park board meetings, for any meetings in that where there's city business, has to be published a minimum of 24 hours ahead of time. Because we meet on Mondays, the time frame on Friday is usually around 11 o'clock. Correct me if I'm wrong. 11 o'clock. That gives time and that for it to be published, put out to the newspaper so they can put it in, put out to the radio so that they can cover it, and gives, the general public the ability to have time to understand what is on the agenda in case they want to be here and speak to it.
And we do post, if I may, we do post an entire packet out on our website. What we're required to post is only the agenda, but we have for many years posted the entire packet. So tonight when we reference our packet, you can go home and look at the website and find probably tonight it's 40 some pages long. And all of the documents that they have acted on this evening.
The 24 hours gives citizens the time that if on the agenda, we're talking dogs tonight.
Sorry to interrupt here, but I fear my granddaughter more than I fear you guys. So.
True that.
Oh, it should be.
Yeah. You're right about that.
But if there's something on the agenda, one citizen complaining about another citizen, it gives that other person the ability to have 24 hours to make sure that they can also come and state their case if it may be. I was going to point out earlier, did y'all notice that also that with the agendas we have different sections that we're all responsible for? So, Commissioner Corbin took care of the meters tonight. They kind of look at me for some of the beverage licenses and that. Public Safety, Finance and Revenue Commissioner, Utilities Commissioner, and then Public Works Commissioners, Commissioner Johnson. So kind of because I can tell you it would be very difficult to try to keep up with each of those. You guys want to know where the fire is? And so that way they can become experts in their own areas, and then during the week, we'll do emails with each other. If something else is coming up that we need to make them aware of.
And the position of mayor is defined by state law, as well as the other positions in that are in the city, and is in the position of mayor, responsible for all the city's building and grounds, and oversee, all of the departments in that these gentlemen also oversee. So state law pretty well lays out all the responsibilities of each one of these commissioners and the mayor as well. Other questions or comments?
Hopefully it wasn't that guy's car that blew up. Bernie.
Yeah, right?
Yes. Yes, Bernie.
Sorry, Bernie.
I have another question, and that I would like, as point of reference, the amendment to the Uniform Building Code that establishes the Building Commission, because I stand here and read before you that the Board of Appeals is by the City Commission. It establishes no other Board of Appeals, and as a point of reference, I'd like to have that pointed out to me and to the general public, why elected representatives do not make decisions on the welfare of the community.
Okay. And Board of Appeals also pertains to taxation, and we do have the Board of Appeals that meets in that, if there is taxation issues every year. The city has one, and so does the county.
I understand that, and what I'm saying to you is a specific reference in ordinance number 15555 that reestablishes the Board of Commissioners as a Board of Appeal.
Okay. And I'm going to leave that to Attorney Jenks, who is our legal representative. So,
we're not on that part of the agenda either, so we should
right.
dwell on
Other
this.
questions or comments? All right.
Are you familiar with their terms of office, how long that's the structure?
Mm-hmm.
Two of us were recently elected for another 3-year term, and then 2 more will be elected this next. You guys are up this
April.
Year?
Yep.
April, these guys are up, and then the mayor will be up.
And then the mayor is up. So everybody's on a 3-year,
rotation.
and so it's 2, 2, then 1, then back to 2 and 1 again. So.
The other thing is, Mike mentioned our general responsibilities as a commissioner, but we also have other kinds of things we'll look after. I was a representative to the chamber, AIC, the library board, Parks and Rec, other kinds of things too. And those are great avenues of involvement if you're interested. Good place. Jeremiah came on, had been a number of things, served in another sidewalk committee. A lot of other things when he came on. We've all had other experiences prior to being elected, so those help you kind of get an understanding of the things in the community and the basics of involvement. So
There are a lot of
opportunities.
opportunities out there. If you want to get involved, just reach out to one of us and we'll let you know.
A lot of boards, other commissions, mostly boards. It's
Airport board.
Library.
a great way to get
Community
involved
center.
and make a difference.
Yeah.
The other last thing that I'll leave you with is that the city, it runs on a fiscal year, calendar year, and I can tell you that the end to middle of July through August, that's our really crazy busy time, and that's when we start making money decisions for the following year. And that's where we start looking at the budget. We're kind of estimating, okay, where sales tax is going to be as far as how much money we're going to be generated through sales tax. We also have a number of things that we basically start setting up projects. Our city engineer has a 5-year plan. What roads will be, you can't decide in January, hey, we're going to redo this road and it's done by August, right? I mean, it takes a lot of time and effort, and quite honestly, it takes money. And that's some of where I think some of our biggest and hopefully good, prudent decisions are made. Budget meetings are not always the funnest, right, Bob?
Right.
However, and then that's where things really get set. And then our department heads are very, very active in that. And then from there, it's throughout the next year, we just play it out, how it needs to go as far as, the budget and keeping an eye on it. And everything from payroll down to the Cokes we buy in the Coke machine out here. So, I mean, it's a lot of different things.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question.
That's Bob's
Why you just
deal.
asked that about nay? May I ask you? What happens if there's a nay? Do you
Uh-huh.
think we would take him out in the alley and pummel the nay with a baseball bat? Or just not? No, but I was just wondering, did you have a reason for that question?
Well, because I was just thinking, if there was a nay, then you have to discuss, or just majority rules and that's it, or,
Also,
I was just curious.
also something can die of not having a motion.
First and second.
Die for lack of a second.
Lack of a second.
Yeah. Or a second.
And a lot, one of you mentioned, a lot of our homework goes on prior to the meeting, understanding what the things we're dealing with. That 5-year plan, you can imagine, we started 4 years ago, over 4 years ago, but we're going to do this next summer, which is a major construction thing on Center Street. So there are a lot of parts to that,
And there are some things in that, we have reserves. And that there are some things in that you have to plan for, and you can't plan to have all of the money in that year. So you have to set aside a certain amount each year to get to that final item, and that is, on the budget. So the city does maintain multiple reserves, and they all have a specific need in mind that is going to be taken care of at some time in the future. The other thing that you'll see also is City of Madison has an airport, and the FAA tells us a lot of what needs to be done and what is done at the airport. One of the things that was started before I became mayor and will continue on afterwards is improvements at the airport. The FAA and the state of South Dakota, the FAA puts in 90%, the city puts in 5%, the state puts in 5%. They're starting on a taxiway. That's something that's been worked on for a number of years. Next year we will start building the South Taxiway. And then down the road are the plans in that for building the North Taxiway. So there are other things in that are a part of what happens here that are also other agencies are involved in. 2019, Highway 34 from basically the subway corner down past Prostralos and around the corner will be rebuilt like it was from Pizza Ranch to Subway last year. That's a state project. But in that state project, there are a number of things in that the city has to take care of. Underneath there, we have our water, our sewer, our electrical, and then you also have all of your other agencies too, VAST, Mid-Continent, and some of the others that have utilities. All of those have to be taken care of and moved prior to that construction or during it. So those are things that you have to budget for as well. And so those are things in that we know are coming. We have anticipated dates. We have anticipated expenses for. So that all is part of our budgeting process as well. So
one thing about the airport, we used to be able to put snow out there, but we can't no more. That's why we went out by James River, because they came in and said, no, it's a danger to the runway. Another thing, I don't want you guys to think that if you're not on the agenda and there's something on the agenda that you want to talk about, you can still come and talk about it even though you're not on the agenda with it. You can still talk about any item that is on the agenda.
And we have in the past had, and I'll just use the true example, when the flooding happened, 2012 I think it was, and a group came to address the commission about the flooding, and unfortunately they didn't understand the 24-hour rule, and so they didn't make it onto the agenda, and the place was packed even more than what's here tonight. But under legal advice, David was here as well, and so what we did, and it was up to the mayor's discretion. However, we let them speak, but we were not able to make any action on it, discuss it, talk about it, ask any questions or anything. So, if there is, some of that sometimes happens. Unfortunately, those citizens didn't understand the rules that we have to play by, and so then I think they got on the agenda for next week as well, and then I'm not sure that.
Was there a public hearing?
Yeah. And then, that's right, we had that at the 4-H grounds.
I think it was down there.
4-H grounds, so.
But fortunately or unfortunately, this group meets every week. So even if you miss that agenda item, whereas some of your other entities meet every other week or once a month. So we hope that if we do miss you, the time frame isn't that long until we can hear you.
But I'm going to add just a little bit to that. There is once in a while when we don't meet because there aren't any bills that need to be paid on that day, and there's nothing else on the agenda that needs to be taken care of on that Monday. So there may be a time in that when the board doesn't meet, but whatever occurs will be in the next week. So, but it's pretty rare that we don't have something on the agenda.
Jen usually finds something for us to do.
Yes.
I love to see you all every week.
I gotta go back to the nay thing.
You know what's rarer than a nay? A tabling.
Yeah,
He's
I
the
like
table
nay.
guy.
I do. I think it's just somebody's thinking. Whether it's their constituencies that have talked to them, people they talk to opposed to something that's going on, or it's just they themselves don't think it's the best interest of the city, community. And they says something. Somebody's thinking. So I may disagree with them, but I appreciate the fact that they stand up and say that. And there should be some dissent. Or there should be some dissent for the majority. Doesn't mean they're right. It just means it's okay. So I'll try to let that go now. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
One more thing I'd like to say is, if you see me on the street and you have a question, feel free to say, hey, could I have a minute of your time? I'll be willing to listen, and I'm sure the rest of these guys will too. So don't feel that we can't be talked about or talked to only up here, because
And our email addresses are published on the website. Is there
Email, phone numbers.
And our cell numbers?
So,
yes.
If we don't hear from the citizens, we don't know about it. Plain and simple.
You guys have been great. Thanks for coming down.
Yes.
Yeah, come back.
Thanks for sharing. And with that, if there are no other questions or comments, and that, again, I want to thank you for coming. And the one thing we are going to move into next is an executive session. And executive session covers items that are covered by law, and it's something in that does allow this commission to go in and speak about specific items in executive session, and that are not open information to the public, at this point in time.
Typically, it's
Guards, I think, guards public meetings, excuse me, Mike.
Nope.
That's an important piece that the mayor said. We can't just be flippant, there are certain things that one there keeps us on track on what we can go into executive session, and I think we're all pretty conscious of it too. But we just can't capriciously decide, well, I want to talk about something that I don't want anybody to know what I'm talking about. We're guided by certain things that are in the interest of open meetings. But there are also some things that we have to talk about that are part of a certain amount of candor also. So, thank you.
If you see us out at restaurants and you don't see three of us together, it's not that we don't like each other, it's just that by law, there's three of us can't sit at the same table at a restaurant. Because
it's considered a quorum.
It's a quorum, and so, you can't be doing that. And that makes it real difficult, because then it becomes very time consuming. Whenever I have information that I want to discuss, now I need to discuss it one-on-one with everybody. And I can't, just gather up a quick meeting with everybody, hey, let's hash this out. Well, you can't do that. It needs to be in public. Now with the executive session, personnel, contracts, those type of things are what we go into executive session for.
We don't do that very often.
No, not very often.
We all do attend the same basketball games, and we don't sit together. So you can't all be in the same facility. But, yeah, or football games, The other thing is that they don't all agree on the same teams either. So, well, with that, I want to thank everyone in that for coming tonight and invite you back anytime. And I'm going to declare our commission meeting over, and that we will be moving into executive sessions shortly. So,
Make a motion.
with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
No, motion to executive session.
Go into exec.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Schultz?